So, what does an avoidant actually think when they're deactivating, when they're pulling away? What goes through their mind? And what is deactivation? First, deactivation is what an avoidant does when they have their fears triggered. They shut down. They take their feelings for their partner, they suppress them, they bury them. They don't allow themselves to access their feelings. And they create emotional distance between themselves and their partner. This is how they've learned to keep themselves safe. Throughout their lives, especially in childhood, they learn that emotional vulnerability, emotional closeness is not safe. So they feel safe and they self-soothe by creating emotional distance between themselves and their partner. When they deactivate, they can become cold, distant, completely run away from a relationship, completely discard a partner. They can stonewall, go completely silent. They can gaslight, and they can even do things like cheating, because cheating creates emotional distance between themselves and their partner. So what goes through their minds when they're deactivating? Well, they often think deactivating thoughts. Thoughts that confirm their fears, thoughts that perpetuate the deactivation. Things along the lines of, well, I don't really need this relationship anyway. I just don't want to deal with this right now. This is too much of a headache. This is too much of a stress. This is not what I need. Thoughts along the lines of, if I were with the right person, I wouldn't feel this way. When the right person comes along, I won't feel this way. I won't feel the need to create space. I just need space right now. I just need to get away from them. I just need to not deal with this right now. Or they'll tell themselves that they're just not made for relationships. I'm not built to be in a relationship. I'm better off just being single. I'm better off just being alone. I don't need this. I'm just broken. I'm not good enough. I'm just going to disappoint them anyway. Or they'll convince themselves that they're not compatible with their partner. See, we are just not compatible. They just don't get me. Look at these differences. We're fundamentally different. It can't work. It won't work anyway. Why bother trying? I just need to get away. They will think these things to justify to themselves why they feel the sudden urge to run away and create distance between themselves and their partner. But what triggers this? Well, if you're dealing with a dismissive avoidant or a fearful avoidant that leans dismissive, it is emotional intimacy, emotional closeness. It's building, it's brewing, they're getting closer, and they're having to get more vulnerable. This frightens them. Going back to childhood, this is a person that was generally emotionally neglected by their parents or caretakers. They weren't given the love and the nurturing in the way that they needed as a child, and their feelings were routinely dismissed. If not outright rejected, they weren't able to express emotions, especially negative emotions. The end result is a person that learned that if you rely on anybody for your emotional needs, this person is going to disappoint you, reject you, abandon you. The lack of consistent love caused them to feel unlovable inside. So that closeness makes them feel unsafe because in the avoidant's mind, it's inevitable that this person is going to figure out that the avoidant is not lovable and will reject and abandon them. So that emotional closeness that is building causes them to feel very unsafe. It causes tons of anxiety in their body. They feel overwhelmed and the need to run away. Another big trigger is any kind of disagreement or expectations that are put on them by their partner. Because they weren't able to express themselves as children, they learned to associate disagreements with rejection, conflict with rejection, abandonment. So even the slightest disagreement feels insurmountable to them, and they'll convince themselves that even the tiniest disagreement about something as small as where do we want to go to dinner, or how do we want to spend our time together, things like that can seem completely insurmountable to them. Also, when their partner lays out expectations, that feels overwhelming too, because they were not able to meet the expectations of their parents or caretakers as kids, so it's inevitable in their mind that they're not going to be able to meet the expectations of their partner. So when these things happen, they feel like they are just overwhelmed, that they feel the need to run away, that they're inevitably going to disappoint their partner. And they also feel like they're losing their independence because this person has expectations, this person has wants, this person has needs, and that feels very controlling to them. This is also, again, because of their childhood. They learned that the only person they can rely on for their emotional needs is themselves. So relying on somebody else, allowing someone to come in behind that wall, allowing emotional intimacy, hearing someone's expectations, wants, and needs, it all makes them feel like they are losing their independence. So these fears get triggered, they begin to think deactivating thoughts, and they create immediate emotional distance between themselves and their partner. The problem is, they don't directly communicate what's going on because they've learned to associate communication with rejection and abandonment. So they just get quiet, they just shut down, they just go cold, and they give their partner little to no explanation as to what's going on. And when their partner asks, hey, is everything okay? They'll usually just say, everything's fine, but their behavior will completely indicate otherwise. Now, if you are the partner of an avoidant and they are deactivating and pushing you away, this is the time to hold a boundary. Just because they're deactivating and they have fears doesn't mean you need to take it. This is where you can actually hold that boundary and say, hey, listen, I've noticed that you've been more distant, and I've noticed that you've been taking space, but there's been no communication. This isn't working for me. I have expectations in a relationship, and this is what I need. I need consistent communication. I need someone that shows up consistently. And if you need space, that's okay, but you need to communicate that with me because lack of communication doesn't work for me. Now, they may feel overwhelmed by this and run from the relationship, but if they do, you are saving yourself time and emotional energy that you would have been investing into somebody who is not investing it in you. Because when the avoidant is deactivating, they are only thinking of themselves. They're only thinking of their own perceived wants, needs, feelings, and fears in the moment. They're not considering how the deactivation behavior impacts their partner. They're only hyper-focused on themselves. And ultimately, a healthy relationship is built upon two people that consider each other's wants, needs, and feelings. Two people that reciprocate the energy investment. Two people that prioritize each other. When an avoidant is unhealed, they are prioritizing themselves, their own feelings, their own perceived wants and needs only. They're not prioritizing their partner. And that means you are in a relationship that is a one-way street that requires you to sacrifice your wants and needs and hold no boundaries. That's not healthy for you. And holding a boundary could mean the relationship ends, but it means that you are taking care of yourself, you're making sure you're not getting tied down with the person that is not investing in you, and you're sending yourself the message that your wants, needs, and feelings do matter.